I moved to New York October 6th, 2021, and I had gotten a job interview at this rental house in Chelsea. And two of my friends who were living in Crown Heights were very gracious enough in order to let me to stay with them, for the time being, at least a week or so. So I initially went into that interview, very excited. I actually ended up bombing that interview, but somehow, some way, I got a second interview. So the next day, I went in for another interview. Now, the night prior to that interview, I was studying till like 3, 4 a.m. They gave me a list of these lights that they rent out, all this video equipment that they rent out. So I had to be knowledgeable on that equipment in order to really try to sway the opinion of the owner of the company. Initially, I thought the interview went well. He said to me, "Well, you came in very knowledgeable and everything, and I appreciate that, but we actually just had a more tenured employee quit today, so now our priorities have changed, and we're not looking for someone who's just starting out. We're looking for someone who has more of an experience, not someone who's just coming out of college." So I left, obviously defeated, actually, and I'll post this in the video right here. It's a photo of me taking a photo of this message in the mirror as I'm leaving the elevator. I think it said something like "good times will come," something very like abstract and obviously very, happy and something like that. So I think I saw that in the mirror, and that was kind of like a message to me. And because I really didn't know what was going to happen, I thought I was okay, I'm defeated, I'm going back home. And then I decided, I was like, no, I don't want to go back home. I'm going to try to find something else. Like, days go by, I'm sleeping on my friend's couch, I'm applying on Indeed. I meet one of my friends who lives in New York. His One of his friends works as a PA, and he's worked on, HBO shows and all these other shows and everything like that. And he hooked me up with someone else who then hooked me up with another person. And then that person was a key PA on this film that was shooting in Queens. So I had never PA'd before in my life. I think anytime you're offered a PA gig, even if it's on an indie budget, like, do it. You're gonna get the experience, and experience is everything in this industry. It's literally the one thing that's going to get you the next job after the next job. Before I actually went on that gig, I went on an interview to another rental house in Chelsea, and this was one of the more bigger ones, the more well-known ones, and that one went pretty well. So then I finished that interview, and I go to my PA gig. Sometimes PAs, especially in New York, your only job is to really close off the street, so make sure pedestrians don't get into the shot or anything like that. It was my first time, so I'm like way far back from the camera. I don't even see anything, but I'm just excited to be there because I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to graduate film school and I'm already on my first big set. It was very exciting. However, I made the huge mistake of not bringing a jacket. Even if it's fall in New York, like, just bring a jacket. I was not accustomed to it. I'm a Florida guy. I cannot deal with the cold, so I was miserable for the 14 or 15 hours we were shooting. But nonetheless, I had a great time. I finished that gig, and I really didn't want to stay on my friend's couch for so long, so I moved in with my aunt who lived in Huntington, Long Island. Days go by, I never hear back from that second interview, so I'm just, trying to look on Indeed, Production Hub, Facebook groups, Instagram, anything that I knew, even hitting up those people that my friend put me in touch with to get any kind of gigs, any PA gigs or anything like that. And to anyone who's more knowledgeable, obviously, in this industry, you know that word of mouth is the way to go. It's like literally the only way you're really going to get a job. Not the only way, but you got to know people in order to get into this industry. So days go by. I don't hear back from the second interview. The first company that hired me, they hire me just as a temp. And I guess I don't know if the guy felt bad for me because I had just like packed up my bags and flew from Florida to New York to be there for that interview. So I guess maybe that showed him that there was a slight determination in what I wanted to do. So he was pretty adamant on giving me just a temp gig, which was amazing because that at least gave me something that gave me a purpose to take the Long Island Railroad into the city and just like work out, really get to know some equipment, get to meet people. It was awesome. I had a great time. I hear back from that second interview 2 weeks after, and they're like, we want you to come in for a trial, see how you do. There goes my temp job, and the following Monday I was in that rental house, working on the grip and electric floor. For me, I was never into grip or electric. I was mainly an editor in college, and even as a freelancer, I freelance edit. So I didn't know anything about, the C stands, low boys, or even like stingers. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous. It's just an extension cable, but that's something that I learned. And especially if you go to a Florida film school, you're not really going to get like the most up to date knowledge on the film industry. So you really got to go by your own experience. Obviously, I was very unexperienced, but luckily I still was able to get the job because it seemed like they just needed hands checking in equipment. It wasn't even technically a film industry job. I was working for a rental company. But even so, just having the experience with the equipment, meeting people, seeing the people who were picking up the equipment, networking with those people was such a good time. You also have a great time with your coworkers too, because they're film people. They work on their own projects on the side, and sometimes, you can get in on those projects. But it all depends, really. It all depends on your networking abilities and how much of an extrovert you are. I can't say this enough. Like, I don't know how anyone who is introverted and succeeds in that city, I don't know if it's possible or not because you really have to grind to meet people, to network, to know when the next shoot is happening or when you can get on the next job, especially even for someone like me who wanted to be in like post production. It was even more difficult because there were so many people at the shop that were already editing their own material. So they're not looking for editors, they're looking for people who can hold the lights, who can grip, who can run the electric, you know what I mean, who can PA. Even like, it's very odds and ends. So that was it, and I worked at that job for about 2 years until the writer strike that just happened recently. Even before the writer strike had happened, I already was having a really hard time living in New York. When you live in New York, it can be very, stressing on your body because one, I could never find a sustainable place to live. It felt like every year, every several months, I was moving into a new apartment, which is very normal apparently from the experience that I've gathered from other people who live there. That's just the work of the trade. That's You're always on the go, you're always on the move. Either the rent gets increased or you get in touch with a bad roommate or something like that. Something is always, always, always happening. There's always some kind of drama. And I'm not saying that this is for everyone, but this was just, at least for me, there was always something happening. There was always, whether it was money issues, whether it was rent or anything like that. And I'm basically speaking to the choir here when I talk about these things because these are regular things that New Yorkers deal with and they live with. And I admire a lot of these people for keeping up with it because it's a hard lifestyle to keep up with, especially because, like, when you move there, you want to live the New York lifestyle. So you better be making New York money to live that lifestyle. You're going to want to go out with your coworkers for drinks after work. You're going to want to go to shows. You're going to want to go to parties. And obviously, on the weekends, you can find free things to do, but it's very far in between because sometimes you'll find free things to do, like a Japanese street fair in Chelsea, and it's literally all of Manhattan's there. Like, it's like packed to the brim with people. You really get It's such a small city in retrospect, but there's just so many people that live there. So you're always just next to each other on the train, in public. Whether you're walking out of MSG from a Knicks game or something, you're trying to take the train back after a game, after a concert, anything, you will experience that claustrophobic mentality that a lot of people feel. And sometimes, especially when you're dealing with money, you're dealing with lack of work, you're dealing with being unemployed, you're working through everything, your emotional trauma, your anxiety, your depression, it can be hard to deal with being around that many people. Sometimes it's hard to just take care of yourself, and it's hard to be physically fit, and it's hard to even eat right. There's so many days where I just stopped at Popeyes because I wanted to just eat chicken. I was so tired after work that I couldn't even think about cooking for myself at my apartment. I was very blessed to, even because I brought my car from Florida, so I can bring all my stuff, all my like my desktop computer, so I can freelance edit, freelance color grade and everything on the weekends. I was very fortunate to be able to go and grocery shop and like put groceries in my car, but then obviously you have to deal with the parking space situations, street cleaners and everything like that. If you put your car on the wrong side, no parking zones and everything like that. Trust me, New York goes out of their way to make sure you pay up, that you pay up whatever it is, whether you jump the turnstile at the subway or you park in the wrong zone, you park somewhere bad, like they're gonna ticket you and they're gonna make you pay. All right. Like I said, I lost my job because of the writer's strike, and given that everything was happening, I had just moved into like my third apartment within the second year of living there. And, I was, not only just dealing with depression, anxiety, of just trying to like keep up with the Joneses of, the New York lifestyle, but also just always on the move. You're always consistently going somewhere. You're always being invited out to places. And you could say no, but I think like New York does a really good job at making you feel like FOMO. If you're very well minded, you really don't mind missing out on parties or missing out on, certain events, but it happens. It absolutely happens. And that takes a toll on your mental health. I was thinking about several options. I was looking online. I was like, well, maybe I can work remotely from here and try to figure out what I'm going to do. I had just decided, if you're in a bad relationship with somebody, wouldn't you rather end it sooner than later? I talked to my mom, I talked to my dad, talked to my sister, talked to my brother, and my whole family, really, even some relatives that I have in Long Island, and I made the decision to move back home with my mom. And obviously, after 2 years of independent living, even at one point having my own apartment, I was just so relieved actually to move back home because I felt like I could actually, work on myself and work on the things that I wanted to do. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people who are watching this are, either you're dealing with this same situation or anything like that, you're just trying to decide whether you're going to stick it out or you're going to move back home with your parents or you're going to go move back somewhere else in your hometown or, whichever. It's a hard decision and it shouldn't be taken lightly, but also at the same time, if you're given the opportunity to move back in with your parents, it's definitely a viable situation given your relationship with your parents. Obviously, I don't know how good they are, but I have a pretty good relationship with my parents, and I think even especially my mom was very happy to see me move back because she just knew how much I was struggling in the city. And since leaving New York, I've been able to focus more on myself and my physical health. I was around like 250 pounds when I was living in New York. And recently, just in the last 6 months of being home, I've been able to cut back to at least 200 pounds. So not only do I feel good, but I like the way I look now. And that was something that was really tough for me. Even before I made this video, I was watching other people talk about this same topic on YouTube, and so many people had such great advice. So I want to thank like the community of YouTubers who talk about moving back home with their parents or moving out of a city and start trying to start fresh. It's a difficult task, but it's something that can easily be done and it can be very rewarding. And I think one of the things that helped me out when I was moving back was, really saying like, okay, I'm moving back, but I don't want to move back the same person that I was when I was living back home in Florida. You know what I mean? Obviously, I edited at my film school and I did make a couple videos here and there, but nothing too grand or anything like that. And I was like, so what can I do next in order to make this next move back home better for me in the long run. So I wrote down some ideas. I was like, maybe we can start this YouTube channel. Maybe we can, video diary for a little bit. Maybe we can talk about things and really understand where I'm at. It's very nice to know that, especially even during these economic uncertainties that we're dealing with right now during this time, a lot of people are making the same decision. So if you're trying to make this decision as well for yourself and you're having a hard time, just try to reach out to friends, family, and think about it from a bigger perspective of what you really want. And I think for me, as I think my final point is, really try to understand what is it that you're getting out of the city. And if you're not really getting anything out of the city, is it really worth paying that premium to, go to those parties, go to those, lavish events that you like? Is that worth it for you? You gotta decide for yourself is if the relationship between you and that city is working out. Because if it's not really worth paying that for that $1,700 a month bedroom. That's what I was paying for my one bedroom. And I guarantee you can't find anything for that price right now. I hope this really helps you guys out in deciding on whether or not you want to pursue either your film dreams in New York or you want to just move there to be a creative or anything like that. Just so you know, because of the advent of the internet, anyone can be creative from anywhere, so you don't necessarily have to live in a city. If you want to break out and you want PA gigs, you definitely got to be in those cities. Me personally, in the future, I'm gonna probably be trying to go the Atlanta route, try to seek, Facebook groups through there, try to get some more gigs through that avenue, just because it's so much closer to where I live here in Orlando, Florida. I think there's ways to get into it and to perceive yourself as successful in your move, and also to understand that, even if you have to move back, don't take it as a step as, that you're taking it as failure. Try to take it as, a step in the right direction of your ultimate progress as an artist, as a person, and whatever you want to do in life. You know what I mean? I think no matter what you do, you should go into the mindset of saying that I'm going to be successful no matter where I go. So I hope that helps you out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.